right, let's put this all together and make ourselves a graph. Let's find the degree, the leading coefficient, the constant, which tells us our y-intercept, okay? The zeros and their multiplicity to find our crossing and our touching, and then our end behavior. So again, to find the degree when it's all factored out like this, you multiply the largest degree in each one. If there's multiples, you have to multiply multiples. So I'd have a 2m times an m times a negative 3m and a negative 3m and a negative 3m. There were 3 of those. So let's multiply that out. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 6 times 3 is will be positive 18. Okay, and we have one more. You want to be really careful with your signs here. We end up with negative 54, and then how many m's? 5 m's, m to the 5th. So our degree is degree 5. Our leading coefficient is negative 54. Okay, now we're going to look for the constant term, and remember, for the constant term, you multiply the constant from each section. Well, notice this first section here, the 2m, doesn't have a constant. It's 2 times m. So it would be 0. And in the next one, we'd have a 4. The constant's the one without a letter. And the last one, we have a 6, 3 times. But multiplying by 0, we're going to end up with just 0 for our constant. So our y-intercept is going to be at 0. The zeros, to find our zeros, we set each factor. Now notice this is factored. If it were not factored, we would have to do that part first. But fortunately it is. We're going to solve each of those. So I get m equals 0, m equals negative 4, and m equals 2. We subtract 6 from both sides, gives negative 6. Divide by negative 3, we get 2. What's their multiplicity? The first term, the 2m, only happened once. The m plus 4 only happened once. The 6 minus 3m happened 3 times. So any odd multiplicities will cross, evens will touch. So we have all crossers here. All right, and our end behavior is our last little friend that's going to help us graph our polynomial. Okay, so our end behavior, we look at the degree and the leading coefficient. Our degree was 5, which is odd, and our leading coefficient was negative. So if you look back at your notes, that means we go up here on the left as x goes to negative infinity, f of x goes positive, and as x goes to positive infinity, f of x goes negative. And the whole point of all of this is so that we can put together sketches of graphs. So the first thing that we would do is put our zeros on the graph. Our zeros are at 0. We use a different color. Are at 0 and at negative 4 and at positive 2. And we had a y-intercept at 0, but that's already marked. Our end behavior is up in the left and down on the right. And then we go to the crossing and touching. It's supposed to cross at all of these. So we would come down and cross, go back up to the next 0 and cross, come down to the next 0 and cross. And that is a basic sketch of what our graph would look like. Not completely accurate, but a basic sketch. And that's why we want to know all of these things about our polynomial functions. All right, one last question. Okay. Let's find all of these things and give ourselves a sketch. So the degree, again for the degree, you take the largest degree from each of those factors. If it's not factored out, you just take the largest degree, but this is factored, so we have to do some multiplication. So we'll have m times 8m, and that one happened twice. And then we had a 2m 3 times. And the way I know the 8m was twice because of that squared, and the 2m was 3 times is because of that third power. Okay, multiply those numbers together. 1 times 8 is 8, times 8 is 64, times 2 is 128, 2, 256, times 1 more 2 is 512. M's, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 M's. So m to the 6th. Our degree is the exponent, so we're degree 6. Our leading coefficient, 512. The constant term, remember you multiply the constant from each of those. Well, this one didn't have a constant, so it was 0. And then we would have 2 twice and negative 3 3 times. But again, we were multiplying by 0, so we end up with 0. Our y-intercept will be at 0 again. Now let's find the zeros of the polynomial. So we set each of those factors equal to 0 and solve them. So I get m equals 0. M equals negative 2 divided by 8 would be negative 1/4. And m equals 3/2. All right. Now let's talk about end behavior. Our degree was 6. That's even degree. Okay. And our leading coefficient was positive. Even degree, positive leading coefficient goes up and up. Our zeros are at 0. I'm going to go ahead and graph this. Negative 1/4 and 3/2. Let's look at whether they cross or touch. The 0 had multiplicity 1, which is odd, so it will cross. The negative 1/4 had multiplicity 2, which is even, so it will touch. And the 3/2 had multiplicity 3, which is odd, so it will also cross. Okay, so I'm supposed to come down, touch at negative 1/4, go back up, and come down and cross at 0, and then come and cross at 3/2. And there is a very basic, not real accurate, but basic sketch of our graph. Okay, so here are some examples to help you with that first assignment on Unit 4 and help you get acquainted with polynomial functions.